Welcome to Up Close with Carlos Sang, celebrating art, entertainment, and the human spirit. Welcome to another episode of Up Close with Carlos Sang. My next guest is a truly one-of-a-kind singer, songwriter, actress who's currently preparing to play Sara Jane Moore in the brand new production of Assassins at the Chichester Festival Theatre. Her previous credits also include Tammy Faye, Heathers, and The Light Princess. It is a true privilege to be able to introduce the one and only Amy Booth Steele. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So I feel like Assassins is, one of Sondheim's, less well-known works, but is a, firm favourite among Sondheim fans.
Yeah,
How familiar were you with this material before you started working on it?
I didn't know it at all. I knew of it obviously, but I didn't know it in depth at all. So that's kind of why I was so excited to be part of it because I was like, oh, it's so nice to do something that I don't know much about.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, the concept of the show is so interesting, exploring the lives of these assassins and,
Mm.
almost assassins. What was it about Sarah Jane Moore that attracted you to this part?
Well, she's a real person, so that's really, really exciting because you get to sort of get in the mind of someone who actually did this. And with all of the assassins, this piece is particularly this production, it's about going into the psyche of these people and why they did what they did. Yes, they attempted to assassinate a president or did assassinate, but why? And do we nowadays have anything in common with those people, in terms of what's going on with the government and stuff at the moment? Do we have empathy with these people, or stuff like that? So it's really complicated, but it's been a real challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so interesting exploring those parallels, as you say, between, what happened then and what's happening now. And,
Mm.
the Gerald Ford years were, such an interesting time in American history. Did you
Mm.
know a lot about this time too, and how have you begun to explore this era as well?
Yeah, no, I was really ignorant. I didn't know much about American history or politics or anything. So I got my studious hat on and I've done loads and loads and loads of research. And it's actually, I'm quite embarrassed that we don't know about a lot of it. And I wish we were taught more about it in school and stuff, to be more educated now, And so I've really sort of knuckled down and tried to know everything I can about, all these people and all these presidents and stuff, and make myself more educated into American politics and politics here as well. It's because we're doing it here, and so it's going to resonate hopefully with a British audience as well, because the parallels of government, like I say, at the moment is quite similar. Not the same, but there's a similar sort of things worldwide.
Yeah, in what ways would you say that they are particularly similar in your view as well?
Well, just you know power and patriarchy and stuff like that is something that everyone can resonate with and everyone knows about. And people have issues with the government, with certain politics, especially after what we've been through in the world recently, with COVID and everything. I think this piece has never been more relevant, even though it was written in 1990, I think. It's actually just as relevant now, if not more so, because of what we're going through as a world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was actually quite surprised. I didn't realize Sarah Jane Moore was actually still alive.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you had the chance to meet her, would you? And is there anything that you would want to ask her too?
Oh, I'd love to meet her. She's fascinating to me because she was a supposed housewife that went sort of under the radar. That's how people know of her. But actually, she was super, super, super intelligent. She was an accountant by trade, and she was also really smart and worked as a double agent with the FBI and stuff like that. Like, she's so interesting. And according to her, I've read a memoir that was written about her and stuff. She, the reason that she did what she did was because she thought she could make a change for people that were perhaps more oppressed than her in society, because no one would have expected someone like her to get a gun out and shoot a president.
Mm.
And I just would love to meet her. I just think she's fascinating, like, and she's often referred to as like a bit bumbly and a bit, all over the place, and maybe mentally, unstable and stuff. But actually, I think she's extremely clever, and yeah. And so I'm trying to find the sort of a way to play her that's not for laughs, I think, because it's written as a sort of comedy version of the character. All these characters are sort of like caricatures almost, which is really fun. But also I want to find the truth as to why she did it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think she's definitely a really interesting character. I mean, like, how do you feel like history is going to remember Sarah Jane Moore?
Well, it's funny because over here, if you say that name, nobody knows who she is. And so I'm really interested in actually pursuing a project about her. Like, I think she needs her own show. She needs her own series, because she's so interesting, as are all of these. We always say all these characters in this show could all have their own films, their own TV shows, everything, because they're so interesting. Like, what makes a person pick up a gun and shoots a president? That already is interesting. And like, people automatically go, oh, they're this, they're that, but there's obviously got to be something behind it, which is what's been the best part for us about sort of going into it all.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Polly Findlay as well, of course, is one of the most exciting directors at the moment. I loved A Number at the Bridge, and her productions of Beginning and Middle were, so amazing. I was quite surprised to see that this was actually, I think her first musical that she's ever worked on. What has it been like, working with her, and how aware were you of her work too?
Oh, she's just amazing. I've known Polly for years. I've never actually worked together. We've done a few workshops and stuff, but we've never worked on a project together. But I've worked with her husband, Mark, quite a lot. And so I've known her work and I know her really well and stuff. And it was kind of like a dream, really, to work with her, because I just think she's so amazing and I respect her so much. And she is so clever and so smart, and has just got this wonderful version of this show that she's created along with Chichester as well, to come up with this whole new version of this show. And it's, I had a coffee with her and she was sort of telling me all about it, and I was like, oh, that sounds amazing, I need to be part of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is your first time working in Chichester too. How has that
Yeah.
experience been? Working in Chester, and how have you found, being in this place too?
Yeah, we only got here on Monday. It's well, we've been here about a week now. Yeah, I mean, I've seen the town a little bit, and we've seen a bit of the theatre, but it's all a bit top secret at the moment. So we go into tech rehearsals, so where we actually go onto the stage, and start plotting all the lights and the sound and everything next week. So I think that will be a real game changer when we get to see it all come together, because it's quite a spectacle.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. And it's got this amazing stage, and Chichester's got this amazing summer season programmed for this year
Mm.
too. I went to go and see 4,000 Miles and The Vortex just recently. Are you going to see any shows at Chichester too, like whilst you're down there?
Yeah, I really want to see Mum, I Want to Meet the Beatles, I think it's called, with Reiki Iola, who I love. And yeah, it's a play in the Minerva over the road, and I think it's about someone who was just in love with the Beatles, and it's a one-woman show. So I'm hoping we'll get to see that. I'm hoping anyway. I don't know if we'll get any time off, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I read that during your run as well of Assassins, there's going to be like food trucks outside of the theater, selling like hot dogs and like fried chicken. How do you
Yeah.
feel like the vibe is going to be to make that experience more immersive for audiences?
Yeah, well, I don't want to give too much away, but it is really immersive, and like, just, I'd say, expect the unexpected and go into it very open-minded, I think, because it's not like anything you will have seen here before, definitely in Chichester.
Yeah, I mean, you're only there for a few weeks, really, as well. It's a very, very short run. Is there
Yeah.
anything you're particularly looking forward to exploring, with the show, with the character, or in Chichester in general?
I'm just excited to see what people think of what we've made, because it is so different, and I think people won't be expecting it. And yeah, I think it will be really interesting to see people's reactions to it all, because it's pretty bonkers.
Yeah, it's amazing, like how much of a genius Stephen Sondheim was in creating this
Mm.
show, and now, I mean, he's still very much one of our most renowned composers and lyricists. Why do you think Sondheim is still so revered in the industry?
Well, he just was a genius, wasn't he? And especially now, I mean, since his passing, it's kind of an honor really to be. I think we're one of the first productions to put on a show since he passed. I mean, over here anyway. So yeah, it's quite special, really. I think it's going to be quite emotional on opening night as well, because he was involved with this project before he did pass away. So it'll be quite an emotional night, I think.
Yeah, what do you hope audiences will take away from seeing Assassins too?
I think it will challenge people, make people feel uncomfortable, make people laugh, make people think, educate, hopefully. And yeah, it just, like I say, expect the unexpected. It's very different in a good way.
Yeah, last year one of the most exciting new shows that came out, of course, was Tammy Faye, which I also got to
Mm.
go and see.
Oh.
Yeah, it was so great. Yeah, again, relatively short run too. Do you see that show coming back in the future as well?
I mean, we all hope. I think it's always hard with new musicals, isn't it, to know when the next stage of it's going to be. But I would hope so anyway. And I'm so proud of Katie and Zubin, both won an Olivier. It's so brilliant for the show and so deserved. And I really hope that it does have another life at some point.
Yeah, and I feel like your character in Tammy Faye and Sarah Jane Moore, they're very different.
Oh
Do
my
you
God, yeah.
try, yeah, yeah? Do you try to play like a range of different roles, or is there something that or is there a certain role that you particularly gravitate towards?
No, I'm always interested in just something that I can really get my teeth into. And yeah, these people are just so larger than life. And again, they're quite similar in a way that they're sort of they're kind of not cartoonish, but the way they're portrayed is always quite cartoonish. And but I'm just really interested in like why they are like they are and why they have their views. And yeah, yeah, that's kind of what draws me to it. And also like how can I put my stamp on something that is in a way that maybe people won't expect, or try and do something a bit different with it.
Yeah, definitely. As you're approaching Sarah Jane Moore now, is there anything about her that you're able to relate to within yourself as well?
I think obviously always advocate for change and advocate for moving forward and education
Mm.
and educating myself and growing forward, always constantly pushing societal boundaries and prejudices and stuff like that. So I definitely relate to her in that way. But yeah, I think we're very different in every other way.
Yeah, I mean, you seem like a very, self-aware, very intelligent person yourself. Like, were you always also particularly political as well? Are you very, like, tuned into, what's going on, with current affairs as well too?
I think so, definitely since COVID. I mean, I'd probably, yeah, I've always been sort of, political, but even more so, I think, since COVID, and we all, sort of went through something, didn't we? And everything became much more prevalent and yeah, and I think, and it's weird. A lot of the projects I've done since COVID have been politically based,
Mm.
and which has been amazing. And we're tackling issues that need to be tackled, which is brilliant.
Mm. Do you ever see yourself running for public office yourself?
Absolutely not. I've got a fear of public speaking, so I think I'd be rubbish.
Yeah, I mean, coming to Assassins now, did anything surprise you about the show, when you were reading the script and, coming to rehearsals, how have, that whole process been so far too?
Well, it's a very different version. It's never been done before, and it's been okayed by the writers, and Stephen signed off on it and stuff. But it's hard to explain without giving it away. But we play two characters, which I don't want to give any more away. But it's something quite unexpected, which is great.
Okay, I mean, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, how much would you say, generally, when you're doing a show, how much does a show change, from, rehearsals to previews to press night to closing night, how much does a show change?
Oh my God, it will change so much. I mean, we've just done our first run in the rehearsal room here in Chichester, And then we'll go into the theatre next week, so it'll change again, and then we'll start doing it in front of an audience, so that will change again. So like by the time we get to press night, it'll be a completely different show with all the, you know, the building blocks, but everything will be so different in like 2 weeks time to what we're doing now, which is really exciting.
It definitely sounds it. Has any, previous job, that you've done in your career, particularly changed you as well, made you look at life differently too?
I did an amazing film last year called Blue Jean, and it was set in the 80s, and it was a story that's very rarely told. It was about the sort of premise of it was based on the women that abseiled down the Houses of Parliament in the 80s against Section 28 when it was brought into schools with Maggie Thatcher, how it was illegal to basically talk about anything to do with homosexuality and anything like that, and teachers were being fired, and you know there was laws against it and everything, and it was absolutely horrendous. And there was a group of women, gay women, that abseiled down the Houses of Parliament, and then that sort of inspired this film, and a bunch of school teachers from the Northeast gave across their stories about what it was like to be a lesbian school teacher in the 80s, and they wrote a film about it, and it was really special, and I learned so much, and I got to meet the women, and being from the queer community myself, it was just so humbling and amazing to meet these women that a lot of people don't really know about, and it was a really special project.
Yeah, I mean, was that a project, was that a story that you were particularly familiar with yourself as well, about these women
No, I knew about Section 28, but it didn't even occur to me that it still existed while I was at school. It was for so long, and it makes so much sense now later to me in life that it, how it affected my life and stuff, but I didn't know why at the time, and I didn't know it was a thing at the time. So it can only imagine how awful it must have been to be a gay teacher in those times, living under that restriction, and just to live in fear all the time of anyone finding out anything about you. It was so scary.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine. I mean, looking at 2023 now and, what's going on, in this country and around the world, do you feel like we are making progress, socially, or do you think we are regressing slightly too?
Oh, it's really hard, isn't it? I think things are changing definitely for the better, but there's you can never stop, and you can never know everything, and you can never stop learning and stop educating and stop getting better, as a society. We've got so far to go. But I'm really proud that there are changes, and I love working with youngsters, particularly now, and seeing how fabulous they are compared to, when I was younger. I just didn't know who I was and stuff like that, and I just think it's so wonderful now to be in a society where you are accepted as you are, hopefully. I mean, not necessarily in every single part of the world, but we're getting better at it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, as an actor, as a performer, do you feel, a responsibility to tell specific stories as well yourself?
Yeah, I think it's important to, yeah, just to, like we were saying the other day, this show is not going to make a Chichester audience feel comfortable.
Mm.
And I think that's really important. That's what theatre is about. That's what films are about. It's about throwing issues out and saying, look, this is what's happening and this is what's going on in the world. And I think that's really powerful, and it's amazing to be part of something.
Yeah, have you seen anything that's made you uncomfortable and, challenged you and your beliefs as well in the past?
Oh my gosh, I was so much stuff, so much stuff. I saw A Little Life recently, at the, what theatre is it at? I can't remember, but in London anyway. And I went to see it on a preview performance, and that was, I mean, I know the book really well, so I knew what I was going into, but that was like, wow, that was all the issues right there in front of you. You couldn't escape, and it's weird because you're like, I don't want to be watching this. And I almost didn't want to clap at the end because I was like, I shouldn't be applauding. It's awful, but also the actors were so amazing and believable. And yeah, I think I think it's important to make people think.
Yeah, I would agree. Do you have any dream roles or shows that you would like to do, or have you already done your dream show or role?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I just sort of love working really, and I tend to do. This is one of the first projects I've ever done that is already written because I tend to do a lot of new work. I'm really lucky. I've got to do a lot of new shows. So yeah, I don't know. Just keep. I think it's exciting that there's so much new writing at the moment, so we can write new characters and new parts and stuff. But yeah, I think this is a pretty bucket list part in terms of, a pretty amazing female role in a theatre show. It's pretty special.
Yeah, I'd agree. Definitely. I think Assassins is a very special musical. And another very special musical that you've done in the past was, of course, The Light Princess, back at the National
Mm.
Theatre. And it's not really had a huge revival, since you did it back then. Do you see, that show having a future and, coming back at all as well in the two?
I'm not sure. I mean, I know they did a concert of it a few years ago, but I don't know if it would ever come back as a show. I think it was so of a time and of a moment, and gosh, it was so long ago now. It was 10 years ago we did that show. Like, I can't believe it. But yeah, I don't think it would come back again. But it's nice that we got to do it, and we've got the soundtrack and the memories. And I think again, it was a show that was way ahead of its time in terms of staging and puppetry and movement and stuff like that. It was sort of a blueprint almost for so many shows that have come since. Um, a new language was sort of made on that production, which was really special to be part of.
Yeah, are you still in touch with many of the people from that show too?
Yeah, we all. I mean, this business is so small. You always pop up and see someone in a workshop one day or something. Yeah, but yeah, everyone's. It was such an incredible company. Everyone's done so well since that show. It was really special. Like we were all so close on that. I think when you create something so like from scratch, you feel so connected as a group.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been so lovely talking to you. Just as a last question, what do you most want people to know about you too?
About me,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. Oh no, that's a really hard question. I don't know. I just love working. I love what I do, and I feel so lucky to be able to do it. And yeah, I just keep doing it forever. That's it. It's really boring, but yeah.
Yeah, Amy Booth Steele, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.